All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm back, Jump Penny. It's been a while, joined by Hawkshaw. We're here to bring you an exciting game. We got WVU going up against UNew Haven University. This is going to be an exciting game, I think. I think UNew Haven is obviously the team that would probably be looking for the upset here. But if you're just kind of looking at the power rankings and the way things have gone, Havoc has beaten Mountaineers. That was back in week 1, so clearly things have changed since then. And UNew Haven was able to take Havoc to a very close game. I believe that score was 3-2. So if you look at it that way, we could have a really close score on our hands. If you look at it with maybe what you've expected, you would expect Mountaineers to have a strong game today. Hawkshaw, how are you expecting this one to go?
I don't know. It could go a variety of different ways. We know UNew Haven can show up against a lot of the stronger teams. We've seen it before throughout pretty much the entire tournament. But the Mountaineers,
Right.
they're looking to take that top spot in the standings here, and I think this could be their game to do that.
Yeah, with Havoc coming off the loss, WVU could easily take that top spot, and that would be huge for them. Speaking of that early game in this week, Charger Blue and Havoc, great game. Obviously, I was a part of it. Charger Blue, man, they gave us our first loss, and it was a great game. I wouldn't want it to be from anyone different. WVU Mountaineers could look to 3-0 today, and potentially, now they've played one less game, but they could set themselves up next week to possibly take the #1 spot. This could be a really big game for Mountaineers here, for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, let's take a look at the standings here. Havoc 8-1 took their first loss just last night, as we saw on that stream. Mountaineers looking to take them over if they do get this win tonight. They'll also have another game next week, I believe, so that could give them another chance to do so.
Yeah, these games have been close. I gotta say, as the season has gone on, it really feels like each and every team has just stepped it up more and more. And I felt that personally playing in the tournament. Like I said, UA Charger Blue, one thing that surprised me about that game with them was just they were really creative. They'd clearly been doing the research and bringing out some great comps. So that being said, I think maybe they've sort of set out a blueprint for how teams that are currently in the middle of the standings can start breaking through these top teams like Havoc, Mountaineers, Catalyst, and Nightshade even. Very high up in the standings, all these teams. And sort of the lower bracket is starting to figure out ways to break through. As you can see, as the season's gone on, the standings have gotten just so much closer. Havoc, who was undefeated, no longer is. Mountaineers are hot on their tails. Havoc and Mountaineers have obviously gone back and forth throughout the season. Catalyst, now in 3rd place. Nightshade had that spot pretty prominently. At some points, Nightshade even pushed for 2nd in the rankings. And now Catalyst jumping up. They were in that 5th mid-range for a long time. They've clearly gotten some things wrong. The big thing for Catalyst, I think, has been a lot of consistency. Obviously, they sort of get talked about the 0-3s or 3-0s, but one thing they've done is just consistently find wins, and they've been able to keep themselves in the top 3. A very deserving spot for them. UA Charger Blue is in 5th place right now, but I gotta say, off that win of Havoc, they're looking crazy strong. They could easily move up in these power rankings and have a dominant underdog run in the playoffs if other teams don't check them and maybe give them the respect that they deserve, because they had a great game. At least I felt, against Havoc. Ascent, UNew Haven, Hawkshaw going into the lower end of these standings. What do you see from these teams? What do you think they could do to maybe shake things up a little bit and start to make some playoffs runs potentially here?
A lot of these teams, especially the mid to lower tier teams, they've just looked so much stronger in throughout the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And given how Riot played last night, if they keep doing that with that, their coordination last night was probably some of the best I've seen from them so far. So if they could just keep that up, then I think they could have a decent run throughout the playoffs here. I mean, they'll have to play a lot of games, given how the playoff format is going to be. But again, if they keep up that team play, they clearly did their homework. They clearly found their groove with different things, with roster changes and role swaps, and just tried these different strategies. So I think if they just keep implementing those into their games, they could really have a good run in the playoffs here.
Yeah, like you said, these lower middle tier teams, sort of, at least in terms of the power rankings, right? The lower middle tier, in terms of win loss purely, like you said, they've been showing themselves to not be teams that are just going to go lay down and stay at the bottom. They want to make playoff runs. They know they have a shot and they're not giving up. The cool thing has been to see how these teams have adjusted. No team stands undefeated right now. That's the first time we can say that, and I think that just goes to show how competitive this league has been.
For sure.
There's just nobody who can't be beat right now. Everybody has something to work on, something to improve, and that's been the great thing about this season. Watching these teams improve, I'm sure if you go back, to week one, and then you watch some of the games from later in the week, I guarantee you'll see a difference in how these teams play.
Yeah, for sure. And along with the mid tier teams, I think Charger Blue, they've been looking very, very solid recently, and I think they're one of the scarier opponents throughout the
For sure.
that teams are going to be seeing throughout the playoffs. Ascent as well, I think they have been looking quite a bit better, and we'll see how they stack up against Nightshade later tonight after this game.
We're going to go in looking at our Rogue Energy power rankings here in just a moment. We'll be right back to those. All right. Looking at our Rogue Energy power rankings again, remember to use code 413 Esports for 10% off your Rogue Energy purchase when you check out all those flavors they have. I know there's a lot going on. Just the variety I've been hearing is what's really surprised me. There's coffee, there's these sort of milkshake drinks, there's pure energy drinks, like maybe what you're more used to. But going into these power rankings, Mountaineers, Havoc, Nightshade, top three teams right now. It's just so competitive is something I really want to talk about. Nightshade moving their way up into the S tier now, Catalyst and UAH Charger Blue earning the A tier. I believe they've both moved up into the A tier, and they've very well earned it. They've played some really great games lately, and again, just coming fresh off that UAH game specifically, one thing that I like about that team is how they're really willing to experiment with comps. We've seen that from a lot of teams in this tournament, but UAH specifically finding success against an undefeated team by experimenting with comps a little bit. I think that's really sort of unprecedented in a sort of way. Whereas maybe you'd say Havoc upsetting Mountaineers with their only loss of the season. Havoc played pretty meta compositions for the most part. UAH beating top teams with creative comps is huge. And it goes to show these teams do anything they can. They want to get these wins. Ascent in the B tier. They've been stable. They've been in the C tier, but overall, I think they're happy to be there with how their season has gone so far. UNew Haven and Riot trying to move things up here, hoping to vouch for their spot in the playoffs. I believe both those teams are looking to make it into the playoffs. And Potatoes, with something to prove, still in D tier. It's been a rough tournament for them. Big thing that's been showing for them, they've come to every game, they've been prepared, and they've given some really close matches to some really good teams. They just haven't really been able to get a consistent flow going as a team. Hawkshaw, we're about to have our pre-match interviews here. I believe WVU Axes is our first pre-match interview.
Yep, we'll see if we can get him in here in just a short moment.
Hello. Uh,
Islander, hello. UNew Haven Varsity. You guys are going up against WVU. It's a strong opponent, but knowing you guys, again, you guys gave Havoc, how do I say this? A tough time at the very least. You gave me headaches. You gave me a tough game. It was a 3-2, if I remember correctly. You guys played great that game. Also, I know the chat can't see this. I love that you're representing Italians, Wario, and Elon Musk in your Discord profile picture. I think that's really a brave move for you, Islander.
oh yeah.
But how are you looking into going into this game and getting upset against a team like WVU? Do you think Elon Musk, Wario can kind of empower you through that a little bit?
I mean, it's like part of the struggle of everyone who's like I'm not personally Italian, but my cousins are. So
Right.
you gotta kind of get with the struggle and to struggle against them and to slowly take over and win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, understanding the struggle of freightophobia that's been going around a lot lately, and using that to power you guys forward. I think that's a really noble and honorable thing for you guys to do. Now, one thing we saw from a team like UH Charger Blue, and I won't ask you guys to spoil too much. I guess what I would ask is on a scale of maybe 1 to 5, right? How meta would you say the compositions you guys play are, or at least are maybe looking to play in this game? 1 being not very meta at all, 5 being completely meta.
Solid 7.
Solid 7. Okay,
Yeah.
well that completely throws my scale off, so I don't even know what to think about
Yeah.
that. Hawkshaw, any questions for Islander before we let him get back and start preparing with his team for what is sure to be an exciting bout between two great teams?
So you guys are looking very good in terms of playoff implications here, and you do have to play a decent number of games given how the playoff format is going to be. Um, so I don't know if you've looked that far into the future, but if you have, what kind of plans are you making for this playoff run?
Yeah, we're planning on taking it slow and steady and just slowly climbing up the mountain, like these Mountaineers themselves. Where we're just gonna take
Nice,
their
Uh,
whole playbook. It's ours now. We're climbing the mountain.
that's
nice,
a Bill
nice.
Belichick type play, stealing the playbook. I like it. You guys
Yeah,
are getting in there and getting some espionage going. I respect that. I respect
yeah.
that.
Three of their players will be ours by the end of the season.
Wow. Brave
Oh,
claims coming out. So clearly UNew Haven have plans to just completely rip the Mountaineers roster and not even let them have their team. I gotta say it's a smart strategy.
Yeah,
I
I,
really don't know what WVU would be able to do about that, honestly.
yeah. I'm planning to change my name to Axis or Axis.
oh,
Well, hey,
Yeah,
we I announced this interview as Axes, so yeah,
really.
with 3 eyes as well.
I might go 4 eyes. We'll
Four
see.
eyes. See, you gotta one up him. I think that's a good move. We're gonna
Yeah.
let you
All
get
right.
back with your team, but thank you for a
All
great
right.
interview. Anything else to say before you head back?
We're also planning maybe to change our name to the Mountaineers if given the option.
I like you guys are looking at any viable option to get even a slight edge on your opponent. It shows you guys are ready for this game. I'm gonna let you get
Glacier
back with your team
Heroes.
before we have our other interview. Thank you so much. You guys have a great game today.
All right. Thank you.
We're gonna be getting Axes in here from WV Mountaineers Hawkshaw. Take it away with this interview.
absolutely. What is up? Is it pronounced Axis or Axes?
Axis.
Gotcha, gotcha. Welcome, Axis. So seeing how strong of a team you guys are, if you win this game as well as perform well in your game next week, you will be able to take that first place spot in the standings. Um, and given how the playoff format is going to be, you don't really have to. I don't think you have to be playing that many games. So what's going to be your plan for that? Just sort of sit back and relax, and then sort of just wait for the game to come, or
I mean, when we get to playoffs, inevitably we'll be number one or number two. I mean, it's only a matter of time at this point.
Mhm.
But if you can remember from last season, we're a whole different beast in playoffs. So
yeah,
yeah, I feel bad for whoever has to play us then.
yeah,
Ooh, I
yeah.
like that.
I mean, yeah, you guys are for sure a very scary team. So another question I have is, do you guys plan on coming back for season 4? And if yes, what do you think we'll see overall? Just this continuing streak of dominance?
If we're back again next season, I think you can imagine seeing us in the finals for 3 straight years. That's all I'm
Ooh,
saying.
nice.
It wouldn't surprise me at all to see that, frankly. You guys are a really tough team to play against. I know that personally. And I expect to see a really good game between two really good teams tonight. Um, I will say if you guys do take that first place spot, I'm not crying. I think somebody is crying. You guys might have to mute your mic. There's some background sound coming in. But if you do take that first place spot from Havoc, which I would be totally fine with, of course. How do you think that sets you guys up to, like you said, be that dominant team in the playoffs? Do you think you're going to use that time as a team? I know you guys are a well practiced team. So how do you plan on using maybe that extra time you get to sort of improve as a team? You know?
Oh, if we have to play less games before the playoffs, the less games we play, the better. The less the other teams can see how we play, the better for us.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a great way to look at it, Hawkshaw. Any more questions?
Yeah, for sure. The one we always have to ask: is there anything you want to say to UNew Haven before the match?
I'm just gonna let the play do the talking. I'll send another one of my teammates in here after the game. So
Alrighty. All right. Thank
All
you
right,
for
we're gonna
the yeah. Go ahead, John.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna let you get back with your team before we head into again a game I'm very excited for. Anytime we get to see a top team play like this, it's very exciting. Axis, good luck, have fun today, man.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. And we are going to go in to the next stage here in our caster predictions, I believe.
Yep. So let's get on with those.
And I
So
think I'm the first prediction up, Hawkshaw. Um, I gotta say, this is a game that could really go either way. I genuinely think a lot of these bottom teams have had a lot of time, and I really don't even want to call New Haven a bottom team because they certainly aren't. But I guess these teams have had a lot of time to sort of look at the teams that have been tough to beat and find ways to crack those codes. And I think UNew Haven could look to do that today if they've put in their effort. I'm going with the underdogs in UNew Haven.
variety, I respect it. I very much respect it. Um, so honestly, just given how dominant the Mountaineers have been, I think they'll just continue. I just think they'll continue that throughout this game. So I have to go with them here.
Yeah, it's sort of a conflicting thing for me, right? Because you can imagine my bias kind of sort of pulls me in two different directions here, where I would want WVU to win and look good because that would make Havoc look better for beating them, but I also want UNew Haven to win so that Havoc looks better for losing last week and for having a very close game against UNew Haven. So it's sort of
Yeah.
hard to decide, but at the end of the day, I do think UNew Haven has a big upset potential here, and just to prove that I'm not just going in on that, oh, the caster had to call the underdogs just so that somebody picked them. Just so you know, I'll be going in with some channel points on this one. I'm taking this very seriously.
Oh man, love to see it. Love to see it.
Of course. But we're going to be going into the match very shortly, Hawkshaw. You said WVU here. What do you think really gives them the edge? Obviously, they're a dominant team, but what do you think they're going to look to do today over New Haven?
um,
Like compositionally wise, especially. I think they'll stick to that meta we've seen a lot from them, but where have we seen variation from them? Have we seen mostly that meta? I'm trying to think if we've seen, much variation. I know we've seen I want to say one or two picks from Haven. No, from WVU we've seen a Genji occasionally. That could be something that would surprise us today if we saw it coming out again, but we've seen them run it before, so I'm not very sure.
yeah, and seeing as the first map is going to be Ilios here, I really think they do tend to run this sort of dive composition with a monkey and a wrecking ball, which is something you don't normally see very often at all. So I think that's what we're gonna see if we go onto a map like Ilios Ruins or maybe even Ilios Well here. Um, give me
Yeah,
1 second, sorry.
the biggest thing I think about the Ilios maps is how they can really have a strong variety in the comps you're going to play, whereas other control maps can do that as well. I think that's a sort of, part of the design of control. I think Ilios especially forces some, just historically throughout Overwatch, some off meta stuff, some unique stuff. If it's going to come out on a control map, Ilios is the one where you'd expect to see it, especially well. It can just be such a tricky map. In my opinion, it's just so unusual in comparison to a lot of the other Overwatch maps. Um, Ilios being the pick, I think in a way that could give you New Haven the edge. I think when things when we go to maps that I would expect most teams to be a little less practiced on, I think the underdog certainly has the advantage there, but it's a bit hard to tell. We really don't know what these teams have been scrimming, obviously, so not quite sure if UNew Haven has the edge I might expect them to have in this game.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll see how it plays out for sure. For now, we're gonna go into a very short intermission before our first map begins. So we will see you guys on the other side of that. And again, follow us. And if you're feeling generous enough, or if you want to, give us like a sub or something like that.
Yeah, those Twitch
Any bit
primes,
of
I know a
support
lot of people got
helps.
them laying around. I mean, me personally, I know a lot of people, friends and stuff who have, maybe for example, my mom has an Amazon Prime account, right? So she doesn't use her Twitch Prime sub because your parents aren't watching Twitch. So maybe say, hey mom, I link my account. Maybe I give a little Prime sub. If not, no big deal. But again, we appreciate you guys just being here and watching and all the support you guys have given. If you have that Prime sub, we'd appreciate a lot if you give it to us. But we have an exciting match going again after a short 3-minute intermission. We'll be right back. It's another thing to think about too. Who else is using that Prime sub? Your mom's Prime sub? Someone else is using it. Your little brother could be subbing to PewDiePie. He doesn't even stream on Twitch. I mean, that would be the most ultimate scam in the world. Your brother is probably subbing to some random Minecraft YouTuber who's trying to cancel your favorite Twitch streamer. You gotta make sure you're using that sub for the right thing, like Soda Pop and Summit. I know there's gotta be some juicers in the chat, so make sure you're getting that Twitch Prime sub used in the right way. Make sure your little brother doesn't get to go use it so that XQC can gamble it away on those terrible gaming streams we'll be doing. We'll be right back, guys. Short 3-minute intermission. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, we are just about to get into it. About to go into Ilios again, this map. Very exciting to see what UNew Haven decides to pull out here against a team like WVU. WVU mostly have stuck to kind of meta. Again, I'm using the word meta very loosely, by the way. Obviously, metas are something that change. Meta is something that's map dependent. What we've seen a lot from WVU is the brawl and the double bubble or the dive. Maybe not as much double bubble. They tend to have that diva in. So I guess it's more of a dive comp. But that's what we see a lot from WVU. These sort of, the standard main tank comps most team run. And they tend to go down that sort of meta pathway where you go to the McCree, the Bap Lucio type of thing. If they're playing that brawl, one thing that's been really exciting to see WVU do a lot is they go onto the dive and then they sort of pick up a Genji, which we don't see a lot in a lot of like competitive play right now. And WVU usually makes it work pretty well. So I'm excited to see what they can do here. If they pull that out, though, I'm not exactly sure which player that is. I think that is Axis that's been on the Genji before, but curious to see what they'll do here. Coming out on a dive comp with a Widow Tracer. Something you would probably expect to see on this Ilios map, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, and as I expected on this Ruins map, we're seeing the Monkey and the Wrecking Ball from the Brave Monk and KO9, this amazing tank duo. And yeah, given this comp that they're running, this is sort of like a just go in and kill everyone or die composition here. And
yeah, UNew Haven has
to
be careful for sure.
Here. Interesting that they're running the BAP here with the Monkey and the ball. Gonna be interesting to see how they make it work. Usually you would want something like an Ana. But we'll see if they can make it work here. There's the dive.
Yeah, what WVU is going to look to do here, we see them already going for it, diving in, catching UNew Haven on these rotations. That's what you have to do against these sort of brawl rush comps when you're playing the dive. Catch them rotating, make them uncomfortable with where they're playing, and there goes Megalodon already. The space that the WVU tanks made there is huge. It opens up those sight lines for the Widow. The Tracer Axis is now popping off as well. There are no tanks left on the field for New Haven right now. WVU rolling through this first fight. They played that beautifully.
I want to point out something I saw there was KO9 with the slam, knocks someone from UNew Haven up, and just set it up perfectly for Wilson to get a headshot kill onto them.
Wow.
That's some next level stuff. Great
yeah,
stuff.
That just shows you all these tanks are working, but the Megalodon finds Wilson. That's a projectile DPS difference. May finding the Widow out. That's a huge play. Sunday finds the Brave Monk on top of that. With a big tank player down on top of the no Widow, this could be a hard fight for WVU to turn around, but one they will look to stall for as long as possible. KO9's mines got canceled? Where did they go? Was it Kree? I guess it had to be. Yeah, Haven on the Kree. Stunned KO9 at max range, and now UNew Haven is finding picks. Genofra and Axis are down right now. The Brave Monk is just stalling out with his ultimate. He's frozen for a moment. He's going to stall it out for just as long as he can before UNew Haven turn this at about 50%. If KO9 can go down quick enough, that is. And yeah, we're going to see 50%, 51% go to WVU as UNew Haven turn the point in their favor. And boy, do they have the ults to keep this up right now.
That was a very good stall, though, from the side of the Mountaineers. They stalled it for a lot longer than I expected them to, even committing that Primal Rage as well. KO9 is already 58% to another Minefield, who is just causing so much havoc on UNew Haven on the point there. But they have 6 ultimates to work with, so Mountaineers are going to have to be careful.
Islander goes down, so does Genofriend. No Lucio's left. It's a dog-eat-dog world as the Brave Monk finds the Megalodon. Interestingly, no one on UNew Haven has committed an ultimate. There comes the High Noon from Halen as Genghis Khan goes down. They had 6 ultimates, but only 1 comes out from WVU, and they're going to be able to turn this fight. That's a big advantage of this dive comp. I gotta say, sometimes that brawl rush comp can struggle because the ultimates that are there aren't all that effective in the same way that with the dive comp, you'll see these ults be effective. Interestingly, I'm calling it a dive comp, but the Lucio BAP kind of makes this a little bit more of a shadow brawl with dive DPS. It's really interesting what WVU is playing right here.
Yeah, and I want to point out in that last fight, it just looked like UNew Haven, despite getting that pick onto Genofriend, they just didn't use ultimates, and there's KO9 using his and finding both supports with it.
Yeah, frankly, when you have the ultimate advantage, you have to be aggressive with it. But like I said, you know, these sort of rush ultimates are just really hard to find opportunities for, especially if you're not sort of aware of the ultimate advantage you have going into a fight, realizing you have to use those ultimates more aggressively. The dive comp as well, this specific comp from WVU, the jump from Baptiste and Lucio Speed is able to get around so many of those ultimates. The hammer down coming out isn't going to catch really anything here. The beat now coming for the side of WVU. UNew Haven is fighting for this round right now. The beat comes out, but Genghis Khan is down and doesn't get to use that mirror. Huge pick for WVU right now. Sunday going down, but there goes the Brave Monk. UNew Haven is not out of this yet. Halen goes down though. Axis and Wilson, the DPS for WVU, are popping off in this chaotic, hectic open space with nothing left. No tanks to say anything about it. Huge round for WVU. UNew Haven had some bright spots though. If they can maybe get those ultimates out a bit more aggressively, they could have had a possible round win there. Going into a next round where UNew Haven looks to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, using those ultimates sooner, I think, could have definitely turned the tides of that round. Because once they were even, rather, getting that pick onto Genofriend, they had 2 ultimates. They used the Deadeye and the Self-Destruct, but they were way too late, and they just didn't get any value. And Mountaineers took advantage of that and just dove onto the rest of their team.
Yeah, huge dives, and as you pointed out, WVU, they really engaged and initiated with their tanks. That was a huge synchronization play by them, just showing how well coordinated WVU can be.
Now we're seeing the Ball Sigma on the side of UNew Haven. We've seen this a little bit before. They're on the Sombra and the Tracer with the Brig to be a bodyguard for that Zen. So I think the Mountaineers love to play around this a little bit differently.
Yeah, Ball Sigma is a comp we've seen around before. Certainly not as common in the current meta, but we've actually even seen this type of composition based around a Ball and the Sombra be played in, even up the Overwatch League. There's an early pick there. Genofriend goes down, but weirdly enough, WVU are going to be able to cap the point because this comp from UNew Haven can't really take space the way they want to. And their Zen is down as well. This is a very slow-paced fight. Both teams are actually playing poke comps in a weird way. Certainly the comp from WVU is a bit more brawly, and here they go rolling in to UNew Haven and just finding some deletion picks one after the other. That fight was very interesting. It was a lot of footsies, and then the teams engaged, and it ended very quickly, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, the comp from the Mountaineers is just so much faster, and that just allowed them to buy so much room over UNew Haven. And UNew Haven, they just couldn't work with any sort of room whatsoever. They do have the Pulse Bomb and that Rally to be working with here, but Axis, if he lands one good stick, he could end up turning this fight completely. And there it is.
Genofriend early pick. Genghis Khan going down early in a lot of these fights, and WVU finds yet another one. UNew Haven going to be forced to reset here, it seems.
Yeah, and with this Pulse Bomb from Halen, I think it's gonna be rough for. I think it's gonna be kind of rough for him to get a pick. Now he just switches off the Tracer, doesn't want to commit that Pulse Bomb. He'll go over to the McCree for that stun potential as well as the high damage. The Megalodon will move over to the Echo. So it's a lot of different switches for UNew Haven, and they're gonna commit this rally and go straight down main.
Yeah, the ultimate's coming out on the side of WVU. Big Mind's gonna make a lot of space in this choke that UNew Haven is so desperately trying to push through, and the Brave Monk able to push the Islander off. That's a huge pick. The Brave Monk has me adding the thought to everyone else's name. Oh my gosh, he gets another environmental as the rest of his team follow up one of the Brave Monk, making a huge play at the end of the round. I'm not sure if UNew Haven's going to get another good touch here. If so, it'll be very scrappy.
Yeah, Funny Buns moves back over to the ball. The Mega was on over to the Doomfist. They'll need to get someone here over to the point. Funny Buns getting tossed around, but they do manage to get to the point. They do go down though, so it's 99%. And now the rest are coming in for UNew Haven, but the Megalodon and Islander are both down to Wilson. There's the pulse bomb from Axis, gonna get that immortality field. He's gonna kill off Halen, and the DPS for Mountaineers popping off, just finding these picks. Funny Buns back in the fray, but I think it's too late.
Yeah, that's going to be WVU taking Ilios pretty convincingly. It's a 100-0 in the second round. UNew Haven looked a little bit better in the earlier first round. Both teams, however, came out with some interesting things. We actually saw some really unique comps, especially on the side of WVU. They've been playing a sort of Bap Lucio with a Winston dive DPS. This is a very interesting comp they're running right here. You see the Kree popping off. That's Wilson just clutching this round out. Great plays all around, but WVU coming up with a very strong first map.
Yeah, and this is really just them playing to their strengths super well, and I think that's what you need to succeed as a team at this level. Just play to your strengths, and just specialize in something to just overtake every other team. And that's what the Mountaineers are doing. And if they can keep it up, then this is going to be a good series for them.
Yeah, WVU looking really strong as we head into a short intermission. You guys are going to want to stick around because you are not going to want to miss a moment of this match. It's been pretty intense so far. Obviously, WVU is ahead strongly, but UNew Haven, they have a shot. They got some fight wins there. It's looking like they could turn this into a brighter day if they're careful. Make sure, again, if you guys have that Prime sub, please consider using it, follow, so that you don't miss another exciting match. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back in just a couple short minutes. All right, everybody, we are back. Another round, another hopefully exciting round. We are looking for UNew Haven here to sort of show us a few signs of life. We saw something on Ilios, but it wasn't enough. UNew Haven is close, but they're not quite there. They're trying to crack this code, but they haven't quite gotten it. There's still a few keys to figure out here, Hawkshaw. What do you think UNew Haven has to do here to turn things around?
Their map pick here was King's Roast, and we haven't seen the Mountaineers play the Brawl comp yet, this match at least. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how it goes, because we know the Mountaineers can play a really good Brawl. So with this map pick, I'm thinking UNew Haven may have taken that into account, but I think they're still confident enough in their ability to out-brawl the Mountaineers here. So we'll see how it ends up going here. Assuming the Mountaineers end up running the brawl here on this defense, we'll see what they go out with here.
Yeah, could
Yep.
possibly be a couple things for New Haven where maybe they think they could feel more warmed up on the brawl, more practiced on the brawl, because we know WVU will very comfortably switch off to this dive. Maybe they feel like the dive is actually the more comfortable composition for WVU, or again, they just feel more warmed up or just really confident in their brawl. So they want to take it to King's Row, and that's what they're going to do. Coming in here with the main difference for each team being that one team seems to be running a McCree, while the other team, UNew Haven, seems to be running a Reaper. The healer is a little bit different here as well. We have UNew Haven on the Moira, while WVU is on the Baptiste. So compositionally, WVU should have a strong advantage here, but UNew Haven clearly is trying something here, and I really want to see if it can produce any results.
Yeah, given how the Moira and the Reaper are in the mix for UNew Haven, this hints to me that their goal here is to just run straight at them, no stopping like you probably would with the BAP with an Immortality field. No, just run straight at them and kill them immediately. So
Yeah,
we're
this
gonna
comp
see...
plays fast.
Yep.
And the tanks start to hit each other, the wall comes up, Wilson takes out Halen. So we see the McCree immediately having influence, but with Wilson going down, this favors the attackers. UNew Haven could have an early fight win on their hands. WVU can't turn this around soon. They're playing it slow like they should be, but the Brave Monk's been walled off. And now this fight's sort of taken a while. We have a Reaper backing out, and there's the Coalescence. The aggressive plays for UNew Haven are paying off. The Coalescence going into this first point could be the end for WVU, but the spawners are coming back for both teams. The window's up, the wall to block it, but the wall starts to go down. The Brave Monk can't live. He was so close, and the hammer down. Wilson is finding picks. This is insane because this fight has taken so long, and it is devolving into pure chaos. KO9's fighting a Lucio. Axis is freezing everybody. He's frozen himself, and he's about to 2v1, but no. Sunday and Halen had enough of that. UNew Haven is capping this point, baby.
Yeah, that was about as scrappy and as close as you could get with a fight there. UNew Haven just had so much room with that aggressive playstyle. Like I was saying, Ringo tried to use that Matrix to try and buy some more space for the Mountaineers to work with, but it just didn't work for them as Brave Monk. He just got melted as he even tried to step onto the point at that point. And now UNew Haven, they've capped point A, and now they're looking pretty good here.
Yeah, both teams had their spawners come back in the same fight that they died, which just goes to show how long that fight was. Wilson finds too with the high noon, but the tanks for WVU are isolated. The bomb's going over top, and it's not going to find anything. A huge wall from Axis that completely protected his team. Not going to be enough, though. UNew Haven looks like they're rolling through this point. It will maybe be enough to get Funny Buns down. Halen down. There's 2 down for UNew Haven. The Diva's out of mech, but the spawners are just a little too fast right now with this Lucio. WVU's oh my gosh, they found another pick. Moira is down. This is looking a little bad for UNew Haven because the spawns are going to come in the favor of WVU because the picks are more recent for them. Even though the spawn doors might be a little close, they're actually even now, pushing through the streets. Phase Hawkshaw, I'm losing my mind right now.
Yeah, and the bad thing about the Mountaineers, like especially Ringo and Wilson dying late there, is that those are just such staggered picks. There's the grab coming out from KO9 to try and alleviate this pressure a little bit, but there's a sound barrier. Ultimate's coming out from both sides here. Halen finds a couple picks, but he does go down to Wilson. There's the Coalescence to allow UNew Haven to rush back in along with the Earth Shatter, and I think that's going to seal the deal here for UNew Haven to cap the second point.
Yeah, UNew Haven looking strong here. We at first had questioned their decision to go to the brawl a little bit. It just looked like we were, there were some certainly influences we could see, and it's paying off very well. UNew Haven looks really strong right now, but this is where WVU can hold you. They're going to get their ult rotations, and they're going to be strong. Actually, you're on the far right now. So that's going to be Axis looking to sort of just change things up and give a little bit of a different look to UNew Haven, who are giving WVU a different look than possibly what they're used to on this Moira Lucio comp here.
Yeah, Axis on the far, it's not bad. Sunday gets the mech there. Megalodon is down. Picks going both ways once again.
Yeah, this has been a unique game to cast with just how long some of these fights are breaking out. These teams feel really evenly matched, or at the very least, like they respect each other. Could also be WVU playing into their strengths a little bit with the Baptiste, right? Trying to make these fights last longer. You would think the Moira would get outlasted, but she's getting these coalescences on like crazy to get big advantages for the team. Islander goes off the map. Axis finds a huge boop onto Lucio there. That's not easy to do on such a mobile character, who now going to be sending a little bit. UNew Haven reeling. They just have to get the respawner back, and there he is going into this fight, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, access already 90% to this barrage. There's no one really to contest him other than Sunday, who will occasionally just be able to fly up to him. And there it is. There's the pick. Sunday went up to the high ground, but there's a massive shatter out from the Brave Monk.
Yeah, it's a big shatter. It hits, and it wins the team fight for them. UNew Haven's going down, and this is what I said gets scary when you're playing against WVU. Once they get these ult things in their favor, they know how to rotate these, and they know, because they've done it time and time again, that this is where you hold on King's Row.
Yeah, exactly. It's already like a minute and a half off the clock for UNew Haven for this 3rd-point attack. They have this grab, and I think you would combo it with the barrage here because you don't really have that immortality field to stop it on the side of UNew Haven. All you have is that defense matrix, and all you have to do is just wait for it to go down, or maybe even demech that diva.
Yeah, Diva DMAC could be huge. It just opens up those ults so much if they can get it. There's another coalescence. A hammer down gets blocked. The Brave Monk is patiently waiting for that one to come through. His team's struggling against the coalescence, but not for long. As the beat comes through, there's a wall to try to split WVU, but it just doesn't work. The freeze and the grab coming out, both teams are committed to this fight, and they both think they can win it still. The barrage coming out as UNew Haven starts to find picks in their favor. WVU right now have to come back and try to get another team fight here. There's some ultimates. That Death Blossom could be huge for UNew Haven, as WVU really has almost nothing online. They're going to hope to get this shatter here, and it could be a big one with the Brave Monk wielding that hammer. UNew Haven right now is still cleaning up. Axis goes down a little bit late. That's going to make the recontest really hard for WVU with that late pick. Curious to see if Axis actually makes the swap. Brave Monk looking to build his shatter, goes down. He doesn't get the immortality field in time, and he doesn't get his shatter off or even get to build to it. UNew Haven are looking to take this with a pretty solid time bank, especially against a team like WVU.
That's a very solid time bank for UNew Haven, as he said. Minute 54 on King's Row, especially against a team who has such a good brawl and who can hold this 3rd point so well. That's
right.
Very respectable for UNew Haven. I think WVU at the end there, especially within those last couple fights, they just misused some of their ultimates. With UNew Haven just ulting really early with the in these fights. I think it was the Megalodon throwing that blizzard out just so early, catching the Mountaineers off guard, and from there it was just all for UNew Haven. So I think the Mountaineers, they could still definitely beat this time bank. While that is a pretty good time bank, I think it's definitely beatable. And I think if Axis is going to stay on this Pharah, we'll see what he goes on. They're on attack, so they're just gonna do whatever, I guess.
Yeah, this time bank is certainly a double-edged sword. Like, the problem is, it's good to get a decent time bank into Capshaw 3 against WVU because they're a good Kings Row team, but this time bank also might not be that good against WVU specifically because, again, WVU could look to have a really fast time here. So it's sort of a double-edged sword if you want to look at it that way, where it's sort of good to get this time bank against WVU, but it's also a little scary because we've seen WVU have faster time bank than this. But really, with the momentum in UNew Haven's favor, I think it's going to be hard for WVU to turn this around. Double sniper coming out for WVU right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing the McCree as opposed to the Reaper on the side of UNew Haven. So there's a stun potential as well as more range as opposed to the Reaper. Wilson is going to play the Hanzo, so there's a lot of shield break and the grab dragon combo that the Mountaineers can potentially utilize here. Axis is back on the Pharah, but they'll have to be careful given Halen can hit his shots for sure.
Yeah, the Ryans just swing a big anti-hits. As the Ryans were engaged, Funny Buns didn't see Diana, and that anti-hits his team really big. There's a pick on the side of UNew Haven, but WVU off really the back of that anti, in my opinion, are going to be able to roll through this first team fight in a slightly quicker fashion, I believe, than UNew Haven was able to do.
Yeah, definitely. And Ringo, yeah, like you said, a good bio nade from him, and he's 90% to that nano boost already. And this is a very easy first point for the Mountaineers here. 5.5 minutes for the Streets phase.
Look at this. The Mountaineers right now are playing Hanzo Pharah. This is a double DPS projectile DPS combo that you wouldn't expect to see a lot of the time. Hanzo, of course, more of a sniper character, still a projectile DPS. Now the Coalescence, Haven is pushing into the strong. No time to waste. They're going straight in for the kill. They don't even want to make WVU come through the choke. They're just using their ults. They're just going in, and it looks like it's about to work. Brave Monk barely gets frozen on the edge of that blizzard. And it almost seems like Haven are fine with, even if you were to lose this fight, they wanted to take it there to maybe hold them early. But maybe you want to let WVU come through the choke. I'm not quite sure what you do there. Obviously, they're going to get maybe another engagement than teams usually would because they took such an early one there. So let's see if they manage to make that work out in their favor in the time bank.
Yeah, they'll for sure be able to regroup pretty quickly here. Genghis Khan is already 50% to another Coalescence, while Islander is almost to that sound barrier. 4.5 minutes still for the Mountaineers, and this is still looking good for them. They have that shatter and the grab dragon combo, but not if it gets eaten.
Oh, the shatters both come out. Neither catches a lot, and the dragon catches UNew Haven. They were forced into that small little room, and they just couldn't get out. The dragon had them exactly where he wanted them. He didn't even need a grab for it. Or no, he did. I believe there was a grab dragon, but still, UNew Haven was just such a small area there with nowhere to go. Huge time bank right now for WVU, by the way.
Yeah, 5.5 minutes for 0.3, and the ult advantage is in favor now of UNew Haven. They have the support ults as well as the high noon. Sunday is almost at that self-destruct, so maybe they could win the fight here. They do end up using the sound barrier aggressively here. Gino Friend using the sound barrier to try and keep his team alive, but Wilson will go down before it goes off, and Haven is going to get that Deadeye kill on the KO9 as well. So this is the Mountaineers. They'll just need a backup, and wisely they do so.
Frankly, the engages from these two teams have just been ferocious all night long, especially when you have a composition like what UNew Haven is playing. They're just want to make that fight last as really not as quickly as possible. Doesn't quite seem intuitive with how you would want to play defensively, but they did get a fight win, and there goes Sunday. He can't recover. He tried to bomb. Oh no, son. Huge Bionade. It hits, and it does a lot of damage to UNew Haven, who are just getting barraged right now. Again, a really good time bank for WVU. That was a huge play by Axis. He set up the boop, which set up the nade, and then the barrage just finished off UNew Haven.
Yeah, great play by them. And I think that was like, that Bionade caught like 3 or 4 members at least of UNew Haven. Absolutely massive plays. And he'll have this nano boost to allow his team to go aggressively. There's the shatter from Funny Buns, but it goes down. There's the boostio onto Gino Friend.
And it's stall picks right now for UNew Haven. They're just trying to make the time bank a little bit more favorable. Certainly not within the realm of possibilities. They beat it, right? There's no way. But they're going to try. They're going to give it everything they've got to make the impossible happen. Funny Buns is coming in right now, along with Islander on this Lucio. He's hiding. He's sneaking. They just now get him. Another anti-hits. It's only a one-target one this time. Hunter Ringo has been hitting huge anti-nades all night. And now, WVU is going to be able to capture this point with a pretty nice time bank in their favor as well.
Yeah, 3 minutes, 38 seconds. Almost 2 minutes over UNew Haven's. So this is a great statement for the Mountaineers, and now we're going into extra rounds here. So now with these 2 time banks, it's going to be interesting to see if these two teams end up changing anything, or if they just stick to what they've been running and just try and execute it better.
Yeah, what UNew Haven was running was certainly unique, so I'll be interested to see if they decide to stick with it or not, or which way these two teams take their compositions right now, because it's been UNew Haven playing this very fast, aggressive type of composition, and they do not look to switch off at any time soon, which, hey, it makes for some very explosive Overwatch, so I'm happy to see it.
For sure, it's something I've liked seeing, and now we're gonna see the Farm Mercy on the side of the Mountaineers. Ringo is gonna move over to the BAP for the AoE heals for the tanks, as well as Wilson, who is on the Hanzo for another for that Grab Dragon potential as well, and same old on the side of UNew Haven.
Yeah, it seems like WVU would prefer to have the Baptiste on defense here going into the second round, because it certainly wasn't that Hunter Ringo wasn't making big plays. Those antis were huge MVP candidate material. BAP so strong here on the defense is what they're going to go to. Just hope to hold out strong and They think they can full hold, I believe. WVU very strongly would like to do that. Maywall coming in on the Brave Monk. He's going to go over it, but gets separated regardless and have to come back. The bubble gets committed. And he goes down. Brave Monk just cannot sustain any longer in that fight. He tried his best, but there was just no offense. The problem with his composition from WVU is they do get the pick on the Sunday and another pick on the Halen. They do give up the point capture, though, and they really didn't want to do that because they almost had it. That being said, it's not the biggest deal to give up cap in these later rounds, but you know with how WVU was starting to get those picks, they really would have liked to cap that one out of the Brave Monk. Now with the grab, he's swinging and just deleting the enemy team. Again, it's not that big of a deal if they cap because you can still win the next team fight and just hold them here anyways. It's not the worst for WVU, for sure.
Yeah, only 47 seconds left for UNew Haven to get it really as far as they can. A lot of ultimates were built really quickly from both sides here, but the Mountaineers, they got the better end of it with KO9 utilizing that grab, and the Brave Monk was just able to swing into it and just find like 3 picks immediately.
Yeah, those picks were huge. They came so quickly off the back of that grab. Brave Monk was just ready and engaged with his off tank. The Dragon coming through now separately from the grab, catches Islander out. Catching the Lucio with the Dragon is huge. Wilson's on the flank right now, popping off as always in the kill feed. We've seen some really great stuff from these WVU DPS. They're putting on an absolute showcase tonight. It's been a really great thing to see.
Access gets res back up. I don't think anyone else is able to touch, and that is it. That is all UNew Haven has to be content with here. They'll have to hold for 3.5 minutes against the Mountaineers, who, and personally, if I'm UNew Haven, I'm pretty scared right now because given how that attack was from the Mountaineers,
right,
it's gonna be rough.
Yeah,
it's gonna be rough for them to hold.
Yeah, they know they have to give up first point. It would be really hard for them to hold it. I would expect WV to get it. What UNew Haven could look for in hindsight too is that when they did win a team fight, I believe it was the first or second team fight after the point capture, which is about where UNew Haven was able to push it to. So if the sort of dynamics of momentum stay with where the cart is on the map as it did last round, we could see UNew Haven have a surprising upset in one of these later fights after the first point's captured. Of course, they would like to not even have to give that point up in the first place. So let's see what they bring out here on defense, Hawkshaw. Really interesting comps coming out from WU, but I think they're just trolling me a little bit. Wonder what they're going to switch off to, though. Maybe not. I don't know. This is partially... I think the Sim Bastion is real, yeah. The Sim Bastion certainly seems real. We've seen them do it before, I think, as well.
Yeah, just teleport onto the top of the statue for that Bastion to just get free range over the entire point, and usually there's not much you can do if you're playing this brawl comp that UNew Haven is playing, so we'll need to see how it goes. They do switch over to the McCree and the Pharah though, which is what they've been pretty much sticking to throughout the entire map. Wilson has been alternating between the McCree and the Hanzo, but has just been performing so well on both of them that I don't really think it's really a detriment to be on one hero as opposed to the other.
Big anti-hits for WVU, but that's the Brave Monk actually going down right now. Wilson finding some picks. Genghis Khan is down. Sunday as well. There's trades for both teams. This is looking awfully familiar to how we saw it go before. This is as sloppy and as scrappy as Overwatch can get. These teams are pretty evenly matched right now on Kings Row Fields.
Yeah, UNew Haven, they have to back up so much because Sunday got DMAC'd and they had lost their McCree as well. And there it is. Mountaineers taking advantage of that space that they were able to get from those 2 picks. And this is going to be a pretty comfortable point cap if UNew Haven can't do anything about it. But look at how aggressively the Mountaineers are pushing them. Wow,
they're going all out. They want to catch these, whoever they can catch. It doesn't look like they're really going to get anything, but they do get the immortality field out, which, you know, that cooldown isn't that long, right? They might get it back, but I don't know. They'd really like to have that immortality right now, honestly. I'm not sure if they're going to have it in time. The mirror goes out and Genghis Khan goes down. That's a huge pick for Axis and for all of WVU. But Axis goes down as well to the Megalodon. And they're rushing in on this. It's a 5v5. Not really, though, because WVU's spawner is coming back soon. Oh, they give it up. It was a 5v5, but UNew Haven is backing off, pushing them into the choke. This time making the smart move of letting WVU come to the choke. The High Noons are coming out. The Shatters are coming out. There goes the Brave Monk Shatter, hitting just a lot bigger than Funny Buns did. That's going to be able to propel WVU into this point, that was a close match. UNew Haven made that much closer than I thought they could, especially on Kings Row.
Yeah, for sure. The Brawl comp did definitely look promising for them. With this super fast, aggressive playstyle with the Moira Lucio, they did make it work. But the Mountaineers, they had just executed their styles better. Access on the far was something I didn't expect, especially on a map like this. But he just made it work so incredibly well, and I think
Yeah.
I don't really know if he was contested all that much, so maybe that's something the Mountaineers could take into account going into the next map, depending on what UNew Haven picks.
Yeah, UNew Haven could look to do something here interesting because they went to a strong map for WVU and made it close. And if you like seeing close Overwatch like we just saw, well, you should probably follow. Maybe consider us giving this that Prime sub so you don't miss another one of these very exciting matches we have going on. I mean, this is a match that you would expect to be an absolutely dominant performance from WVU, and UNew Haven is making it stunningly close right now, especially after that Kings Row. Honestly, they might have a little bit of momentum in their favor going into this next one, just given how close they were able to make it against such a strong team. You guys don't want to go anywhere. We're going to be back with more Overwatch after this very short intermission. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to be going into another map here. It seems as though UNew Haven has picked Havana, a map I maybe didn't expect because we saw WVU pull out snipers on Kings Row. It maybe seems like UNew Haven want to pull out some snipers here. They haven't done it on Ilios. They didn't do it on Kings either, so would this be the map for them? It can be a sniper map, so I'm curious what makes UNew Haven want to go here.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting one. I don't know if we've seen the Mountaineers play Havana too much. So
yeah, I don't think so, really.
We need to see what they end up going with. Maybe they'll go for the spawn hold that a lot of teams have played in the past, or maybe they'll go out with some sniper comp. A lot of long range, a lot of like spam damage. We'll see what they go with.
Yeah, they could come out with a lot of things here. WVU have been very willing to play some unique compositions. Like, they've just been willing to run interesting things all the time. They played Pharah. They had almost double sniper there for a little bit. They had the Pharah Hanzo going into each other. That was just a little ridiculous, and it worked really well. They commit to what they want to play, and they do it good. That's what WVU's been doing all season long, frankly, and they're continuing it here right now.
Yeah, and I think what UNew Haven runs here on this attack should depend on what the Mountaineers run for defense, because if they do opt for the spawn hold, you normally won't be able to see it, given there's this huge building by the spawn door that you can't see. And yeah, looks like they're probably gonna go for that.
Yeah, I wonder
hold.
if the map designers knew what they were doing when they put that building there, you know?
Yeah, you never know. Maybe they have their priorities.
Right.
They inner secrets. Who knows?
Secret order of Blizzard game devs, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the Mountaineers, yeah, they're opting for the spawn hold. I think Wilson ended up revealing that he was playing May, like right in front of the door, but
Yeah, might have given that one away just a little bit, but they're going in 5 seconds left and they're setting up. So UNew Haven might know now about the spawn hold, but it's probably too late to adjust. Not that they would want to. They're on a pretty competent brawl, and I think that's what is one of the better comps for trying to break out of these doors. It's one of the better comps for this entire map. Megalodon is actually on the far right now, maybe almost sort of matching what WVU did. I'm not sure if we've seen the Megalodon on this in the past, or if this is, a look to sort of steal what WVU is doing. I think they've ran this before, though. CQ1 is in on tank, and he's swinging against the Brave Monkey, gets walled off, but the Megalodon finds that pick as CQ1 goes down right now. A tragic pick for UNew Haven, who look to have this fight going in their favor, but it's not going to be easy. They do have the spawn doors. You really don't even like to give up that much time, though, and committing the barrage to finally get this thing going their way.
yeah, that's a huge barrage from the Megalodon. Really didn't look like the Mountaineers were doing all too much about it. Axis has moved over to McCree, I think, to take that into account now, given how much range the Megalodon was able to get over the Mountaineers. So yeah, that is it's not a bad hold from the Mountaineers, but I think you could certainly win at least one more fight apart from that. And Axis is gonna go down to Halen before this fight even begins.
Yeah, that's not going to be ideal here. The teams are engaging one to each other, and it's a little bit hectic. These tanks are sort of forced to, in these far compositions, play a little further out than they might like maybe at times. Sunday finds Geno Friend. There's a May frozen in the middle of UNew Haven. Wilson does manage to get out, but is going on a flank to the cart, and the tanks are starting to turn around. The Megalodon goes down to pick that pick of the McCree that you talked about, a very huge counter there. They realized the Megalodon got a lot of value, and they had to shut that down right away. Hunter Ringo finding a pick on the Halen as well. It's going to be that WVU are forced to back up. This is looking a little bit similar to how we saw Kings Row go for UNew Haven, but WVU is reforming right now, and they have some ultimates online. Axis finds the Baptiste as well, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, it looks like they might be able to turn this around. There's the Blizzard out from Wilson, and it's going to freeze up Sunday as well as CQ1, and they're both going to go down. That pick from Ringo, I was thinking maybe they're going to be able to turn it around here. That pick, that extra pick, I think solidified it, as well as the Blizzard from Wilson. And that was the only ultimate they had to use there. They have 3 more, almost 4 more to be working with here. Whereas on the side of UNew Haven, you only have the Valk, which you can use to probably allow your team to go aggressively. And you have that barrage, but if Axis is aware of it, he can just stun the Megalodon right out of the sky.
Yeah, at one point UNew Haven were looking to capture that, and then WVU really turned it around by just playing very good positioning, waiting for their moment. A double Diva Bomb. CQ1 can't quite get his shield around it, and he goes down along with Halen. Right now, WVU just continuing to roll. Only a minute left, and some ultimates online right now for UNew Haven, but even more on the side of WVU. This is going to be a hard one for UNew Haven right now.
And this is something we've seen from the Mountaineers so many times in the past. They're gonna start cycling these ultimates so incredibly well. All they had to use that fight was the self-destruct. They have the supportals, they have the Deadeye. They're gonna use that window, and they're gonna zone UNew Haven right out. Even gonna catch Sunday on the way out and break down CQ1's shield. Islander has moved over to the Lucio to allow that speed for this brawl comp. The Megalodon is still on the Pharah though, and I think he needs to use this barrage, but the Mountaineers, they've just been ulting so early, so much earlier than UNew Haven, that they just can't do anything.
Yeah, UNew Haven's struggling right now to just keep it alive in this match. Megalodon going down in the middle of the barrage, and there's the beat and shatter. That looks to all but clear it up unless this high noon gets everybody, and it does not, unfortunately. Looks like WVU is going to have a pretty strong hold here. Can UNew Haven do the same? It's going to be hard against a team like WVU, I gotta say.
Yeah, for sure. That was absolutely textbook, those last few fights especially. Absolutely textbook by WVU. The Megalodon, right as he got his opportunity to use that barrage, Axis just flashbangs him right out of the sky and renders him absolutely useless.
Flashbangs have been canceling a lot of in-the-air ultimates. We saw KO9 lose those mines to what seemed to be a very mystifying flashbang that was like max range, it seemed, with how high up KO9 was.
The range on flashbang is just otherworldly.
It really can be at times, especially when you're a ball just trying to use your mines at a mile above point, touching the skybox. You probably feel like, and somehow a flashbang finds you there. That being said, it was the other side. It was Halen, or it was the Megalodon getting their barrage canceled by WVU. That's a huge play there, and let's see now, because WVU, they got to bust through. They're on a Hog. They're on a Genji, Bastion, Mercy right now. They're playing a sort of yeah. Some of these things are definitely going to swap off. KO9 going on to the Sigma. They're playing sort of a what seems to be sort of a bunker down comp with a lot of things mixed into it, though. UNew Haven is going to have to look to play what they're playing well if they want to try to get rid of this unique composition from WVU right now. Back onto the Hog, KO9 goes. He's not on the Sigma right now.
He might look for a pick here. Look at how he's moving here.
Yeah, he maybe could look for a pick and then swap, but he doesn't get it, so he stays on right now. Let's see what he does. Hunter Ringo goes down for WVU right now. That's a good early pick for UNew Haven, who could look to make their full hold get a little bit more value than WVU's right now if they keep this pace up.
Yeah, and KO9 is going to move over to the Zarya. The pick, he couldn't find the pick that he wanted to get on the Roadhog. Wilson is going to play the Torb here, which I don't think we've seen. We haven't seen it this match for sure. I'm not sure how much we've seen it from the Mountaineers throughout the season. And Axis is going to be back on the Pharah with Gino Friend on the Mercy to pocket.
Yeah, that Mercy pocket is huge. Axis finds a pick right as you talked about it. The Megalodon goes down to that damage boosted Pharah. The hammer down from CQ1 massive though. Brave Monk is going to be able to get a fire strike, and the barrage is able to recover a lot of what that shatter had lost for WVU, who are coming back into this fight right now very convincingly. They're going to get a lot more cart push off of this one.
Yeah, and this comes from the Mountaineers. There's a lot more long range and a lot of spam damage in comparison to UNew Haven, and yeah, that's what they're utilizing here. The Pharah, Axis on the Pharah can just get free reign, especially with the Mercy pocket. And UNew Haven, they're just not going to be able to do anything about it. They do eventually kill off Axis, though.
Halen takes out Axis, yeah. As you said, the res comes up. And will it be enough? WVU have to push through this, and they're pretty close to the point. If they do, they have a pick right now. And another as well. CQ1 goes for this pin because he has to make something happen. The freeze does come out, but it's not going to be enough. Wilson in the kill feed with the Torbjorn of all characters.
Oh my god,
that was amazing.
And this is looking bad for UNew Haven. I don't even know if anyone's going to be able to touch. They need to be super fast here. As the Mountaineers, they've rounded this last corner on the payload. Halen is there. He can't even touch, though. Islander as well. Can't touch.
They get a Doom on the point, but I don't think that's going to last very long. Everybody is dead right now. And that's going to be WVU taking a third map in a pretty dominant 3-0. We saw some glimpses of hope for UNew Haven, but not enough to give them the win. We're going to look at this play of the game real quick, and we have to pick an MVP. Wilson on the Torb made a strong case. I think Hunter Ringo on the Ana was there all day long, Hawkshaw. Who do you see as some potential MVP candidates?
One is definitely Axis on the Pharah especially, but like you said,
yeah,
Ringo as well. Provided so much value on the Ana. Got a few great bio nades to set plays up for the Mountaineers, and as well as the BAP, some question mortality fields is just great support play overall.
Yeah, really great support play. Those immortality fields were coming down very nice. They've played really good together. WVU, even though they looked strong since week one, look even stronger. They're playing some really good games lately. And I think I'm leaning towards Hunter Ringo, who played the Ana very efficiently. You know, when you have your Ana player stuck in BAP jail, and then you bring them back to playing just as efficiently as before. Huge plays from Hunter Ringo. Those antis were so offensive. I think Hunter Ringo is my MVP. What do you think, Aksha?
Oh yeah, I think it is a toss up between him and Axis, but I think we
Yeah,
do
for
have to give it to
sure.
Hunter Ringo for that incredible support play.
You know, Axis did say that he would, in quotes, send. I believe he said he would send another team
Yeah,
member in. So
another.
I mean, yeah, clearly we have to pick someone else. That's what he meant. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Hunter Ringo on the Ana and the BAP, a very crucial part of this series, as really every member of WVU was. They played a very dominant game. It almost seems like if one member of WVU maybe isn't on their A game or they're going down early in a fight, the DPS or anyone else are just gonna pick it back up. We saw the Brave Monk hit big shatters in late fights. We saw the DPS show up late in fights where things were getting scrappy. WVU made it work in their favor. Very good stuff for WVU.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've continued their streak of dominance with this 3-0 win over UNew Haven Varsity. Uh Havana just looks so dominant for that Mountaineers, and it was just at the point where UNew Haven Varsity uh I wouldn't really say they played poorly, but the Mountaineers they were just on fire, especially on this final map. Again, glimpses of hope for UNew Haven on Kings Row, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough for them. So now
Yeah. Yeah, like you
they're
said, those glimpses of hope were not enough to shut down the likes of Hunter Ringo. You know, we've seen you on BAP, but what amazed me today was that you had some really great Ana play. We've seen that in the past, but those nades were huge. What gave you the edge, especially there on Kings Row early, you found a huge nade. How was your team able to help set you up for that? What gave you that positioning to find such a huge nade like that?
Well, okay. Um, it's an interesting question. In all
Very
reality,
specific, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You see, I like to go back because it's all about how I was taught to use nades from Gino Fran. Actually, he was giving me advice on support when I first joined the
Ah,
team.
Hmm,
You
nice.
infinitely get more value from your nades if you purple the enemy team because that if you think about it, you're nullifying two of their players to an extent,
Right.
right.
and
Yeah.
they're kind of essential, to keeping the big boys up. So I'm always kind of looking for offensive nades more than nades for my own team because I can always
Right.
heal my own team with my M1. There's no need for that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that's a big part of Arnold play, at least from what I've heard. Like, not a big support player, obviously, but
Right.
it's huge when you can get because obviously like keeping them from healing is almost infinite healing when you think about it versus just healing your team up. It
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of mathematically makes a lot of sense for Anna to go for those offensive nade, and we saw you guys doing that a lot. Those offensive nades were huge when you were on the Ana. When you're on the BAP, we saw a lot of consistent play. How are you able to like so consistently, I guess, switch between those two characters and still like keep it consistent? Do you get your practice in on both of them, or do you feel like you're more of a main to one character?
Well, I jokingly call myself a two trick because that's pretty much the only two characters I play in comp. Really,
Right.
I just all their supports they don't really sync well with me, and luckily we have Gino Fran who can take up pretty much almost everything else for me, so I'm free to play Bap and Ana to my heart's content, and
Well,
thankfully our comps can work around that. So.
it really just goes to show how much you guys work around each other and what you guys like to play, especially because you guys don't like just stick to hard meta. We saw Farah, we saw double sniper early on Kings Row, Hanzo Farah. Really unique stuff from you guys. Hawkshot, any questions for our MVP before he goes back to celebrate with his team?
So I believe this was your first game in this tournament. Yeah.
That is correct, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Wow.
So yeah, how did
Congratulations, dude.
Oh,
so
thank
overall
you.
how did it feel like in general? What was the atmosphere like in comparison to like a scrim or something like that for you at
Well,
least?
for me at least, since I did take a break from the team for a month or so, to be honest, it felt like a comp match with a lot more yelling. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
Isn't it always?
isn't it all? Yeah, that's true,
course.
that's true. And we
Yeah.
kind of had to win, otherwise, I hate to say it, but Axis told you so. At the end of the day, he did in that
He
pre-game
did. He
interview.
did
He
tell us
did.
so. No, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I I thought about throwing, just to make him look like an asshole, but
Dude, I really needed those channel points. I would have appreciated it if you had done that, but I respect that you had to try to get your team to win. I understand. I understand. I
yeah,
can
yeah.
forgive you.
I
Well,
almost
we're
wanted to
gonna
bet against myself, but yeah.
insider trading. Uh-oh.
Hey man, you gotta take the dive sometimes.
You got
I respect
buy the
it.
dip, I believe is what he's saying, everybody. I think that is, by the way, that is financial advice. You heard it right here. Hunter Ringo, he's very specifically gave you financial advice. So if you have any issues, or maybe any issues with your money, you can probably legally blame it on him, I think. But we're gonna let you get back and celebrate with your team before any interesting legal battles start kicking off. You have a nice day, man. Great game
Sounds
with your
good.
team, obviously. Well deserved.
Alrighty, thank you. Have a good one.
You too, and stick around, guys, because we have a second match coming up. It's not over yet tonight. We have more than just one. It's a double stack. We're coming at you again very shortly. You guys don't want to go anywhere because this next map, Nightshade versus Ascent, I believe that is, right? Nightshade versus Ascent. Looking at the standings here, we see these teams are barely separated. UAH Charger Blue, the only team in between them, and they were last week, but UAH Charger Blue is also coming off of a really strong win. Nightshade, I think, are the sort of the standard that most people would predict here, but the fact that they're just so close on the power rankings, I really think this could be a good game. Ascent has played a lot of tough opponents. I really think they've had a tough schedule and they've really shown up very well. Obviously, all the teams are playing each other eventually, but I think there's something that goes to say about like how you play early in the season versus later. Scent certainly stepping it up, and I think they're looking to put up a very good game against Nightshade right now. Nightshade have been changing things up. They're trying to find what worked for them. They've had some subs come in and out of their team, and now it seems like they've settled onto a more consistent, stable roster with sort of less subs coming in and out. I'm curious to see how that changes things for Nightshade as we go in the Nightshade for Ascent here shortly. I believe I have a short intermission in between. Hawkshaw, any words about this upcoming match?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good one. Nightshade. They have gone through, uh, admittedly a plague of roster changes, which has sort of detrimented them, but they could still make it work. They did, eventually they did make another match work last week. And Ascent, they have been looking pretty good recently. So we'll see how it all ends up playing out, but I think it's gonna be a good one.
I'd have to agree and stick around because I do believe we have a short intermission in between here, or are we going straight into the match? I'm going to check with production real quick. We will have a short 10-minute intermission. Make sure you guys follow and do not go anywhere. Go get yourself some water, some snacks so that you're ready to watch this next game. Pretty sure it's going to be a good one. At the very least, your casters are going to be on point. I can promise you that. You guys don't want to go anywhere. Stick around. Exciting match coming up.
All right, welcome back. We are back with another 4-on-3 CS match. This one is going to be 4-on-3 Nightshade versus Ascent, and it's gonna be a pretty exciting one, I think. Not these two teams aren't too far from each other in the standings, but I don't know. Both these teams, they have been looking pretty decent, despite the roster changes that have come in from 4-on-3 Nightshade. So, and yeah, they're maintaining that 4th place spot. So, I think they're definitely still looking good, and I think they're going to be able to find a pretty good foothold here. And Ascent, they're down in the 6th spot, so chances are they'll still be making the playoffs here. With it being the top 8 make the playoffs, whereas 9th place misses out on it. So yeah, I think both these teams they'll still have a great shot at the playoffs, like almost guaranteed at this point. So we'll see how this match specifically goes.
Yeah, these teams pretty evenly matched, looking towards the power rankings at least. So I'm excited to see what they can do. Octave, I believe, ringing for Nightshade, a big Lucio player in here. Very excited to see how these two teams go head to head, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, and yeah, with all that being said, let's make some predictions here, shall we?
Oh, of course. Yes, cast your predictions as always. I think Nightshade, while they're a great team always, I think these players that have, they've had some players go. And I think it's going to take them maybe at least some time to adjust. I think, again, we could be looking to see a bit of an upset here. Obviously, that didn't fall up a little bit, but I think Nightshade could have some issues. But I also think they have a big ringer in today. Man, this is hard. I'm going to go with Nightshade, though. I think Nightshade pulls it out today. I think Ascent's going to have a tough match ahead of them, but I think they can pull it off if they're careful. But I think Ascent's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, I gotta.
I picked Nightshade. Yeah, I'm sticking with Nightshade. A little unsure, but I'm sticking with Nightshade. I think they got this one.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, Jump Penny. Nightshade. Yeah, I think overall as a team throughout the entire tournament, they've just been looking better. Whereas Ascent still needs to what's the term I'm looking for? They really still need to sort of find their groove. They have gotten quite a few pretty convincing wins here and there, but their map differential still pretty lacking. And overall, I think they still have a lot to work on. So overall, I think Nightshade has the advantage here.
Yeah, I think Nightshade has a strong advantage going into this. Like you said, Ascent has a tough match ahead of them, but they're looking to match up. They've obviously had plenty of matches against Nightshade to watch and look out for. We look to go into Oasis here, I believe, is our first map, Hawkshaw. How do you think this sets things up for these two teams? Obviously, we have some brawl and some dive, depending on what maps we see here. Depends on which one we go into first as well.
Given that we're on Oasis Gardens to begin with, there is the potential for double bubble, and it's something we've seen before, especially from Nightshade. They are a pretty good double bubble team, but they've also pulled out the brawl a lot, and it just looks so good. And yeah.
And here we go. We're about to get into it. These teams are preparing to go at each other. They are looking at their comps early, and it looks like we have Nightshade going to be on this Rhyme Diva, Cree, May, Bap, Lucio. It's a meta comp for sure. It's something we see pretty standard. I think the May on this map can it can go a couple of ways, right? It can really help you on the high ground, but this map can be a little bit more open than some of the other maps. The May could struggle there, which is maybe why Ascent feels that the Kree Reaper is their pick here. That being said, May is always strong. There's a reason May is really strong in this meta. This map isn't that different, honestly.
Yeah, the May can definitely work, especially if the two teams meet on the high ground as they are here to potentially split someone off. Whereas the Reaper on the side of Ascent, they're looking to just go for high damage, but
the Nightshade tanks early on getting two huge picks. Suspect and Chwid find them down. The Diva mech going, and it's going to be the rest of Ascent following. They're doing the right thing here, dying quick and hoping to come back next fight. That being said, AP Flower Child, she almost has a bomb right now. AP Flower Child is beating Suspect in terms of ult charge, despite the fact that her team just lost that fight. That's actually pretty huge and could really lead into a turnaround here, as as Ascent looks to take this fight. Oh, that's Remec. I'm so silly. AB Flower Child, of course, that would have been an impossible amount of ult charge. That's why I was so stunned, obviously. But of course, it was just Remec. Here they come into the point, looking to fight against Nightshade. Twid has a bomb, not ready yet, but it'll be ready first, it seems. Big hammer from Suspect. That's a 4-5 man, and they're going down quick. It looks like Nightshade are gonna roll 2 straight fights here. Looks like Ascent are gonna be sent reeling early. Nightshade looking to cast them away quickly rather than letting them get a little bit of momentum and even having a chance, sort of the way that, you know, it felt like UNew Haven in the last map sort of got some momentum. Nightshade is looking to shut that down as early as possible here.
That was a really big stagger as well onto AP Flower Child to end off that fight. So Ascent, they have to wait a while to wait for her to get back. It's just being sped back now by Jinro. But a lot of ultimates are online here for 4-1-3 Nightshade, whereas the only thing you have on Ascent is that Matrix. You do get the Deadeye in the mid fight, but look at this window placement from Ink's Flash. Like, at this point, you just have to either play around cover or just try and force the point here.
Suspect is a big man finding early picks, but it's Twid with the entry pick here. He's been in the kill feed as well. It's Suspect following up. It's really the tank line for Nightshade that we've seen in the kill feed early in these fights. It's been a really huge round for both of the tanks for Nightshade, I gotta say. They're being obviously well supported by their team, but if you're looking at the kill feed and how these tanks are aggressively taking these engages, they're taking down and melting targets together. It's been pretty cool to see, honestly.
Yeah, and Omatoku and Bazinga won't be able to even use their ultimates as well as Hantu if they can't even touch this point. They do get the touch though, so there's a start for Ascent, but still looking bad for them as that wall comes up from Beast Pulse, and there's a pick onto Jinro.
Yeah, Lucio can only get away so fast. They had to contest eventually, and now picks are coming through. The Shatter got canceled, it seems. Never like to see that. Omutofu doesn't get it off, and it's going to be Nightshade rolling through this first point. A hammer down, doesn't catch anything but a Diva maybe remecking us. Suspect just used that one to get it out of the chamber before the round ended. Nightshade's going into round 2 looking pretty dominant right now, Hawkshaw.
Yeah, absolutely one-sided map, or one-sided round to start off the match for 4-3 Nightshade. A great start for them. And if that's any indication of how the Brawl versus Brawl is going to go, then I expect Nightshade to take this all the way, because that was brutal for Ascent. And now we're on University, which is the more brawl-oriented map on Oasis. So I think it's gonna be rough for Ascent here.
Yeah, I think the May pick makes even more of a difference on this map than it did on the other, and Nightshade looked really dominant. So Ascent's going to a Doomfist here instead of the Reaper. They're just trying to change something up, and that Doomfist comp is one we see played a lot. Let's see what they're trying to get out of it here. If they can really use that Doomfist aggression and sync the rest of the Brawl up with it well. Nightshade holding the point defiantly right now. They want to have that early space as it's going to be Ascent taking... They take high ground here, which isn't something you really see too often. You early see these teams fight for the point here. It's going to be Ascent deciding to give up that space and take the high ground. Scythe finds Hantu. That's a huge pick for Scythe. Scythe on Nightshade has been absolutely massive hit scan player we've seen a lot. And these tanks are just holding the space for Nightshade because Ascent has to back off. They have to get their spawner back right now.
Yeah, and I think Nightshade just had the advantage right from the get-go. They just had so much point presence to begin with, whereas Ascent, they took the high ground not really knowing what to do there. And Nightshade, they pretty much just won the fight off of that pick from Scythe, who, like you said, has been really good on this hit scan roll.
Suspect now just looking to hold this door so that his team doesn't have to ever give up the point. The mirror is going to make it so that he has to rotate around. They take a bit of an engage. The Immor comes out for Nightshade. Shadow looking to engage hard here with the rest of his Brawl. There's a Shatter. Not quite sure how that connected as picks are coming through either way. This has become as chaotic as it can get. Nightshade looking to stay in this and hold the point though. It looks like Ascent's going to slowly lose here as really Nightshade looks dominant right now. It's been very strong percentages in their favor. Ascent has to do something, but it's not going to be easy with the way the ultimates are going right now.
And it's already 54% acquired for Nightshade, and they haven't really had to use anything other than that Shatter in that last fight. And Ascent, they haven't been able to build up anything here apart from that window, which really didn't get any value at all. And now the ultimates are coming out from 4-3 Nightshade, and there's a pick on the Hantu.
Huge bomb by Twid catches Hantu off. It's going to be members of Ascent looking to recover and just come back with the ultimates they have for what could even be already the last fight. Nightshade is looking so strong on this first map, and they have a freeze ready too to counter these ultimates. Twid's out of mech though.
Jinro uses the sound barrier just to keep his team alive, and Hantu gonna use that Deadeye, gonna cancel it though. There's the Matrix out as well, but he's false. Gonna use that
Huge
Blizzard, and
shatter.
there's a flank shatter from Omotofu. Octave uses that sound barrier to keep his team alive, and Omotofu is gonna end up going down for it, and Scythe is gonna commit that Deadeye. Gets eaten, but it's not going to be enough. There's the bomb out for Making Flower Child to zone Nightshade out for a little bit, but she cannot remech. Goes down to Scythe. Scythe been finding so many picks throughout these last few fights. There's a pulse bomb, but all it's gonna get is that immortality field.
Oh, the healer down for Nightshade could be huge. Ink Splash, she goes down. Omutofu as suspect finds that fire strike. Finally, that's going to let Nightshade stay in it. Huge plays by Nightshade. They absolutely dominated Oasis right now. So we're going to have to go into our second map after a short intermission. You guys are going to want to stick around because Nightshade is looking strong right now. You do not want to miss the plays coming out from these guys. And let's see what Ascent can do in an attempt to come back here. We'll be right back after a short intermission. All right, we are coming back going in. It's going to be Blizzard World here right now. We have these two teams hitting at it. It's interesting because we don't know what they want to run on this Blizzard World, right? We can look to see what their comps are once we know, but I'm really curious to see what these two teams run. I am just coming a few days off of a match where I played into a comp I didn't expect on this exact map. So I'm curious to see what unique things could come out on Blizzard World. And it seems like knowing these teams, we could see that a little bit here, especially because this is a map that can force you to deviate a little bit from your standard brawl.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, there could be some very unique comps to that come out here. We'll see how it eventually ends up playing out here. And if you're on defense here, and if you're running this DPS line of Scythe and Heatfalls, I think this is a really good DPS line with the McCree Hanzo to be running here. So much long range, especially with this long sight line here on the first point. So I think Nightshade, they really have a good idea of what they want to do, and I think it's going to be tough for Ascent to counter it because there's going to be a lot of damage going against that double bubble comp.
Yeah, these long sightlines, like you said, are going to allow the DPS for Nightshade to just pop. And frankly, they're ready to do it, as we saw Suspect and Twid finding the early picks, obviously enabled well by these great team members they have. These DPS are looking to do something here. If you're on the side of Ascent, you have to shut down some of the sort of unconventional stuff Nightshade's doing here. You have to try to get onto this Hanzo if possible, but the way he's playing makes that so difficult for Omutofu. Really not even sure if it's possible for this man to get in there on the big monkey. He's just trying to do what he can. He's going down when he bursted so low. Shadow is low as well. They're on the Genji right now. You don't see a whole lot of Genji. He's false, finds AP Flower Child, goes down to those storm arrows. They can be so vicious, so much damage coming out from Hanzo so quickly. Hawkshaw, Nightshade have a pretty strong fight here as it's looking like spawn or regroup time for Ascent.
Yeah, he's false on the Hanzo. He's already 72 to that Dragon Strike, and yeah, that just goes to show all the damage that Nightshade is able to put out against this double bubble, and they haven't really been able to do all that much. AP Flower Title is only 22% to a grab after over a minute, and Twid is finding picks left and right here. Look at how aggressively Nightshade is pushing this. Scythe does go down for it though, so that might be a little bit of a detriment and might be a little bit of an opening for Ascent to push in here, but I think that opening is shut down now with Hantu going down from a pretty clean fire strike there from Suspect. And now I think Scythe, he's pretty much almost back now, and ultimates are online for 4-1-3 Nightshade here. They have the window, which could be absolutely devastating, but they nano the Winston and they go in.
Oh, these ultimates are coming out for both teams. They throw the nano out onto the Winston, and Genji's gonna have to use a naked blade, but doesn't even get that off. Look like a slight baby miscommunication between Nano Monkey's pretty common, but Twid throws the bomb over top and it catches Hantu out. Twid has had a really great series for Nightshade, wouldn't you say, Hawkshaw?
Yeah, for sure. He was finding so many picks and overall just providing so much value on the Diva. Obviously a very strong off-tank player overall, and it's great to see a lot of that consistency come into play here. And now over 2 minutes are off the clock now for Ascent here, and they haven't been able to use all that much. Hantu has moved over to the Hanzo, whereas AP Flower Child has moved over to the Diva. So there is a bit more of that damage reduction with the defense matrix in the mix, but Scythe and Heatfalls, they've just been performing so well in the DPS role, as well as just being enabled by the rest of their team, where I don't even know if it will matter all that much. We'll need to see how it played out here. Shadow still does have that Dragon Blade though, and he finally made it.
Yeah, the Dragon Blade goes in, followed up by the Monkey. High noon from Scythe, but he goes down. This is huge right now. Ascent is getting the picks that they need, but Twid finds one back. AP Flower Child out of the mech is going to be huge. Twid finding that, and it looks like the Monkey going down as well. This could not be good for Ascent, who looked early like they could win this fight. Twid's out of mech, and Octave finds a pick on a Shadow here. Huge plays for Nightshade right now.
That was such a massive immortality field out from Inksplash, both able to save them and Suspect from going down to Shadow, who ended up on 1 HP, and they eventually disposed of him. But I think if Inksplash hadn't gotten that immortality field off, this fight could have been entirely different here. And he's false, asserting his dominance over Hantu in that Hanzo matchup.
Yeah, it could have been very different, as you said. Nightshade actually choosing to back off here and give some space, it seems. They want to re-engage with this mirror, knowing that probably some ultimates are coming their way. There goes the Dragon from Nightshade, separates a lot of what's coming out from Ascent right now. The Shatter, it's big from Suspect, and that's gotta be the nail in the coffin. Shadow manages to find a pick, but I don't think it's gonna be enough off of a huge Shatter like that. But there's Hantu. Hantu's in the kill feed, doesn't want to give this one up yet, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. He gets pinned, as you said, and Suspect cleans up the point with a solid 3K. There's another bomb from Twid as the final touchers come out. Twid has been playing great so far. Curious to see what Twid can do on the attack here as well.
Yeah, will definitely be interesting to see. And again, I think he might just stick to that Diva once again because he's just been so strong here as the last few people are coming into touch. But it's not enough. And I think Ascent, I think you just need to do better than that. You didn't get any progress on the point here. Nightshade, again, just so dominant. They were playing that brawl with the more range style, with the McCree Hanzo, and it worked out in their favor once again here. So it's really rough for Ascent with Nightshade just knowing so well what to do for each and every map.
Very true. Ascent had a game plan and they ran it very well. Ascent almost played into it at certain points as well. They had early picks at times, but weren't able to quite capitalize. This brawl comp can hold space so well, and if you don't know how to break it apart, it can be very difficult. Even when you do know, it doesn't always just go that easy. The enemy team obviously trying not to let you do what you want to do. Speaking of that, Ascent's gonna have to let Nightshade not do what they want to do, which is cap this point as quickly as possible and send us into a whirlwind of a map 3, which would leave Ascent reeling. So therefore, Ascent has to try to pick up some momentum here, I feel, because if not, that map 3 is going to look brutal for them. Really hard to recover your mental if you don't maybe even put up a little bit of a fight here. It could be a tough map 3 going in for Ascent. But that being said, they've shown some signs of life. Let's see what they can do here on defense up against Nightshade.
Yeah, so they're gonna be opting for the brawl comp, similar to what Nightshade ran, except Shadow's gonna be on the Widow as opposed to what would be a McCree. So I think it could work, especially with the long sight lines for that one-shot potential, but there's not much of that consistent damage that a McCree would be able to put out, right?
Yeah, it's actually a double sniper for Ascent here as well, playing on the high ground and looking to use that to set up those two snipers.
Yeah, he's forced is going to move over to the Echo, and I think it could definitely get value as long as he stays aware of Shadow, as well as, oh yeah, picks are going even already. He's forced down to 1 HP. The Immortality Field though from Ascent has to be used, and while you do get the pick on the He's False, I don't even know if it's too worth it. You might get it back if Nightshade doesn't regroup in time, but overall, it could have been worse for either team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Nightshade really is looking to build ultimates here. They have a huge time bank. That being said, on the side of Ascent, they're kind of looking to do something similar. They actually got one to the Ash now. Bob could be a huge defensive ultimate in a way to help hold this point down for Ascent.
Yeah, and Bizinga is already 95% to that Matrix, which could be big, especially given this high ground position that the defenders are able to have here. But I'm not sure how useful it'll be if Nightshade just goes through that small hallway. And there's a pick already from He's
Oh, huge 4-man though from
Oh
Bobo
my
Tofu.
God.
He pins them into the room though. They're not exposed anymore. And they get lamped up and are able to survive regardless as Twid finds a pick on Jay Jinro here going into the point. Jinro going down is going to be huge. No Lucio means your Ryan can't get around very fast, and your Ryan's already low. There he goes. Momo Tofu's down. So is Twid. Scythe could be down as well, but it looks like he's going to get a DMAC before he goes. Nightshade with the Shadow on the Hantu. They only got a baby Diva to clean up. It looks like they've got this point. It looks like Nightshade's going to head strong into map 3.
Yeah, and
More staggers though. More stall picks coming out from the set right now, Honcho.
yeah, and there's almost Tofu on the ball. They are able to get in. They almost let that point go. Jinro does use that sound barrier to keep them up for a little bit, but almost Tofu not on the point. Jinro does manage to get there, but that's it. That's the map gonna be going to 4-3 Nightshade. Pretty one-sided once again, especially on the defense. We did see some signs of life again from Ascent, which we have seen in the past, but overall they just couldn't make it work and do something more. And I think that's really what they needed on their attack, because they got full health, and at that point it's just a draw or a loss for them. And unfortunately for Ascent, it was a loss. So now going into the third map, it's going to be rough. Nightshade with just so much momentum. They've just been having so many of these one-sided team fights, and you know, assuming they keep this momentum going, I expect to see more of the same.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Nightshade's heading into a strong 3-0 right now. Ascent, they're on the back foot pedaling, and they have to try to find something here to come up with to at least get a map off of Nightshade. That could, even just that map could be huge for them. Let's see what Ascent can do. We will be right back very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Short intermission. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, we are going in here to Havana. It's going to be these teams going at each other on a map that could be strong for snipers. It's almost an interesting pick. You know, Nightshade looks strong on the snipers so far. I think Ascent feels confident in their snipers as well.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a very risky map pick from Ascent, but I think they have that confidence in their DPS line, especially with Shadow and Hantu. They are pretty good at those long range heroes, but so are Scythe and He's False. So it'll definitely be a good sniper matchup, provided that's what both of these teams opt to run.
Yeah, curious to see what they go with, but certainly some snipers, or what we can expect to see from both teams here. It's going to be kind of curious to see which, I mean, exactly how they play these snipers. Sorry, obviously, I think we can kind of assume which snipers may be played. Probably a Widow, probably a Hanzo for both teams, as it is early, seeming to be the picks they go on to. Shadow, not sure if he wants the Widow or Hanzo right now, I believe. Curious to see who goes on to what, as the teams are starting to settle in. It looks like we're going to have a double shield sniper duel coming our way.
What's interesting is that Nightshade is opting to go for the Mercy Zen as opposed to the BAP Zen that you would normally run with the double shield comp.
Yeah.
The BAP is there for all the AoE heals as well as the extra mid to long range damage that he can provide, and Nightshade is not running that, so I don't know how this is going to go here. Looks like they're going to set up on the low ground and take two separate angles here.
Yeah, they want to give that extra damage boost with the Mercy, but Scythe gonna find Bazinga early. That'll be a huge pick for Nightshade, who's looking to roll this. Suspect finds a pick too. Ascent right now, not looking good in the first fight. Might have to recoup. They're not gonna get much more push off this before it starts to be contested. And as I say that, Ascent starts to back off the point, looking to regroup here.
Yeah, and look at this. Look at the angle that Twid and Octave are on together, as well as like Suspect and He's False. I think Inksplash is swapping between the Mercy and the Hanzo with this pocket. I don't really know. I didn't see all that much of it, but with this pocket, Hanzo could be great for shield break, and Scythe with another pick onto Shadow.
Yeah, Scythe's playing team deathmatch right now. Two early picks for Scythe are absolutely massive, just causing so much more stall time for Ascent right now. Oh, another pick for Scythe.
Oh my god, he's on fire
Scythe's
right now.
Ridiculous right now. Can't stop this man.
I'm just gonna move over to the Tracer. I assume to try and contest Scythe, but it's gonna be hard because there's a lot of open area here on this first point that, well, I was wrong. He took care of him, so I guess that's sort of the job done for Ascent. Now they just need to kill the 5 others. Twid and Octave are still on this off angle, causing trouble for Ascent here. They have to use that immortality field.
Yeah, Twid's off angle has been huge. It actually causes a Zen duel as the Zen tries to push Twid out. Jinro catches Octave though, so that Zen duel is going to be won. As opposed to the way maybe Lucio duels were going in the past maps, Jinro finds a pick here. And we got Ascent with some momentum on their hands for the first time in a while. Let's see what they can do with this.
Yep, now they're taking this corner. Shadow's over to the Doomfist, which is interesting on this map. He's down immediately from a headshot from He's False. Now there's the Bongo down from Suspect for that damage amplification. Gonna be very rough for Ascent to push into it. They'll need to play around this payload for a lot of cover. Scythe ends up killing off Jinro, and he ends up killing off that immortality field as well. So at this point, if you're Ascent, you need to back up. But Omotofu sniped out once again, left out in the open.
Yeah, this is just an all-ranged battle. These two teams poking each other out. Probably making it kind of hard for Shadow to get in here. At the very least, you're playing Doom in the double shield, which isn't that bad because that shield really doesn't do a whole lot against you. It can be hard to get in. That being said, though, with all the spam, especially this Mercy damage boost, that being said, Shadow and Hantu are on a Widow Tracer now. A bit more suitable for possibly his combat Tracer, looking to maybe go into the backline, catch that Mercy Zen a lot. And that's already what Hantu tried to do and gets taken down by Octave. A huge ego play for the Zen player there.
Yeah,
That's a huge
Octave absolutely asserting his dominance over Hantu. First it was Jinro in the Lucio matchup, now it's Hantu on the Tracer. He's just saying, nope, you can't contest me, you can't kill me. And this is still looking good for 4-3 Nightshade. Under a minute left here. There's the Bonko out from Omotofu, which is gonna break down those shields. He's False does get picked off by that pulse bomb though.
Yeah, and that's a huge pulse bomb. As now, here the Flux coming out from Twid. AP Flower Child slammed down in it just trying to stay alive right now, but that's a huge res for Ink Splash. Shadow finds a pick, but the Trans gonna be coming out here now from the side of Nightshade. They're throwing everything they can to try to get Omotofu off of this point, just pushing and pushing that card away. Shadow is very low here, but gonna start recovering. Huge pick from Jay Jinro on the He's Falls. That could possibly allow Ascent to get the momentum they need to, at the very least, capture this first point and get some time back in their favor. And it looks like that's what's about to happen.
Yeah, there's only a few people left for Nightshade. Suspect does get res, but so many picks are going the way of Ascent here, and it's just not going to be enough. Ink Splash and Twit are the last ones left on the point. So now, finally, Ascent, they have finally capped the point, so maybe they can build some momentum from here on out. Nightshade, they'll have to set up for a good second point here, and Scythe is on the Ash for a lot more of the consistent damage that I think would be good here, given this indoor distillery. He's actually going to move over to the McCree now for that stun potential, which could be good for dealing with Shadow, who is also almost up at that Dragon Blade, and Hantu as well on the Tracer. Scythe could easily take care of those if they become an issue. There's the Pulse Bomb out as well. It's going to bring Scythe low, but he'll get healed right back up.
Yeah, probably also looking here as well. For Jay Jinro, just on that Zen to make big plays, but Jay Jinro goes low. Jay Jinro pushing that cart all alone right now. Just hoping, but like you said, that Scythe swap can... Oh, that's a huge flux. Nightshade's going to roll through with it. I was going to talk about Scythe's McCree pick and how it can just burn through shields, but you don't even have to burn through the shields when they're all lifted up into the air like that. That's a huge play. Going to come out there from Twid, who's had a pretty good series all day long. Twid's been very consistent, making huge plays for their team.
Yeah, and I think the saving grace here for Ascent for this next fight could be the Dragon Blade from Shadow, but you don't have the Ana on your side, on your team to give you that Nano boost, so it's still gonna be rough for you. If Scythe can track him down, then it could still be lost for Ascent, and that Dragon Strike is gonna force Jinro to commit that Transcendence.
Transcendence coming out. There's the mirror. Gonna be huge in finding picks right now for Ascent pushing into this. The Transcendence comes out maybe a little late there for Nightshade. Maybe they thought they could turn that one, but not quite. Doesn't quite look like it. It looks like Ascent, possibly. With that Transcendence being gone, looks like they're gonna get this second point. I'm not really sure Nightshade can recontest here, although they will start to try. I'm not sure though. The Blade certainly gonna force them out of this touch here. I don't think they're gonna be able to touch it all. They're trying though, and they get there, but Suspect goes down and it won't be enough. They were really close though, and with the picks, they could have turned that one around. Just, they weren't really able to get to the point in time is the problem, no matter how hard they press W. Just such a slow comp, it can be hard to get there. And also hard to live once you're there because you're just a sitting duck on those tanks. Good try though by Nightshade. They have managed to hold Ascent to a pretty low time bank right now. It can be hard to get through this third point with only a minute 30, I gotta say. It's a really hard third point.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone in the world knows how hard third point is on Havana, especially if there's a really good sniper on the defender's side who can just snipe you from literally anywhere here on the map. Hantu goes down, but he does commit that Dragon Strike. The Flux gonna kill off AB Flower Child with that High Noon to combine with it. So this is looking like a fun fight here for 4-1-3 Nightshade.
Yeah, the DPS and the kill feed for Nightshade are doing great things right now, and you know, the good thing for Ascent is even if you get stopped here, Nightshade still has to push it this far, which isn't always as easy said as done in these double shield comps. It looks like the tank ultimates coming online could be huge here for Ascent if they're able to avoid the 3 ultimates that are going to be coming online from Nightshade here.
Yeah, Ink Splash with that window, especially down this long road. There it is, as well as the Dragon Strike, which is gonna split some of the members of Ascent off. And Omotofu really low. They have to use that Transcendence, but that's a really good flux from AB Flower Child. But she gets stunned right out of it. But I don't think it matters all that much as Shadow still finds those picks.
Those picks are huge. It's gonna force Nightshade into a situation where they maybe have one last touch here. And on this double shield, that last touch situation is never super easy. You have to try to find a way out to take your space before you get shut down here. Because Ascent just pumping damage into Suspect who goes down immediately. No Bongo to be found. They could cap this point here. big Transcendence might keep Nightshade in this. A big pick from Scythe as well. But it looks like Ascent is rolling through this point. It would be very hard for Nightshade to stop them here. But Omutofu going down could spell the end for Ascent. Stall picks are going to be coming back. Suspects coming back. Still with the bongo. No swap on the ball because that bongo's huge. And there's the flux for almost a Sig 9. But it's going to lead to the kills that Nightshade needs seemingly to hold this.
Massive.
That's huge. Huge kill feed for Suspect off a huge flux from Twid, who's had a crazy game, honestly.
Yeah, that flux, one of many massive plays that he's been making throughout this match, and overall, he's just been such a consistently good tank throughout the season. And there was, again, he just set up such a great flux for Suspect to follow up on. And Ascent, they're not going to get all 3 points, but I think given a map like this, you're happy with that. You're not really all that disappointed with that attack, even though that last fight was winnable at the beginning. But Twid was just there with the gravitic flux, and Suspect as well with that supercharger. It was just too much for Ascent to handle, especially with the defender spawn advantage. That came into play for 4-3 Nightshade here. At this point, I think Ascent might end up sticking onto the same thing here. Yeah, by the looks of it, they do go back to the double sniper that they were opting to run on at the beginning of their attack, as well as the BAPs then. So pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, standard compositions for Ascent at least. Obviously, Nightshade, you know, they're in the spawns right now. They're not committed to anything. But I'm curious to see what they pull out. We're probably going to see double shields from them. I'd have to expect probably similar to what we saw last round. It looks like they're actually going to go to more of a brawl comp, which also makes a good bit of sense here. These are both comps we see pretty commonly on Havana. Let's see if Nightshade can break through this double shield.
Yeah, it's interesting for Nightshade to run the brawl here because you're not really being spawn held here. But I think if you just play around cover super well, because the shield, that one shield from Suspect won't be all too valuable, but the natural cover you have with the payload and some of these other walls could benefit 4-3 Nightshade here. So if they play around it well, they could end up getting the distance closed in that they need to just walk into the double shield just like this.
Yeah, they're walking into it and they're finding kills. That freeze was huge early on. Hantu finds some as well, though, so certainly Nightshade still have their work cut out for them. They're going to go back to pushing the cart now. As you said, huge fight there. It's going to be going the way of Nightshade, who really have this shatter, the mirror. Everything's coming online for them right now, but it's not looking the same way on the side of Ascent. That dragon is going to be a little bit late to the party, even if he can get online for this next fight.
Yeah, and Twid could maybe end up eating it depending on where Shadow ends up using it, assuming he does get it within the next couple seconds that Ascent has to touch the point. But Omutofu is Omega low, and they need to back up with that Immortality field. The AP Power Child is down. Both tanks down now for Ascent. The Shatter just to seal the deal for this point.
Love to remember that one. Omega low, he certainly was, as Nightshade rolling this point with a very big time bank right now. It's looking good for them going into these fights. Mirror online for Inkshla. She could look to make a big play for her team here. The question is can you get it in a position, right, that Ascent isn't able to just back up and just give you a little bit of space. Obviously, you'll take that time bank, but ideally you find a couple kills with it as well.
Yeah, they do have the high ground here, or rather Inksplash is on the point, so they're not with the rest of their team. At least for right now. So at least for Nightshade, you do have that speed boost, and Scythe around, going on an off angle all the way around, just finds both DPS with that high noon. Absolutely huge play, and the Immortality field is down for them as well. Ascent had flipped over to the brawl, but it might be a little bit too late here, as picks are still going the way of 4-3 Nightshade.
Baptiste, that's Inksplash. They punch that Lucio in the face to end it off and say, "Get off of my cart." I love seeing the supports duel it out, and Inksplash, they do it all too well. Taking out a Lucio is never easy when you have to aim like that on the bat. The Suspect on that finds Bazinga. Inksplash goes down now. The tanks, each Rhine has found the Baptiste right now. They're going Easter egg hunting, and they're in the back line, it seems. Twid with the bomb on point, but Ascent has picks. Omutofu, he was one, and he had to avoid the damage from the baby. and he couldn't do anything. He goes down. So does Twid, though, right before the remake. And it looks like Ascent is starting to build a little defensive momentum here. They're going to have some ultimates online to start to hold this for them. The mirror came out, so now it's Bazinga's mirror. It could be huge here for the team.
Yeah, that was such a really chaotic fight, especially on the side of Nightshade. It was just Ink Splash and them alone on the point, whereas Suspect and Octave just sort of set up their own two-man death ball, I guess you could call it. And he had committed the beat just for them to go in and kill people. It didn't work all too well, but that shatter finds both tanks, but picks are still going the way of Ascent.
Yeah, that's huge. These picks for Ascent are massive. It's Suspect alone on the card just trying to live right now. But he's gonna do it as well. He finds two. He's looking for one more. Here's Twid coming in to help. The Baby Diva wasn't gone, even though it may have seemed so. Down goes Suspect, and so does Shadow. Octave is back on the point. Scythe's here as well. Nightshade's looking to win this with a three-man crew. That was so scrappy, but here's the beat. The remake from Twid does so much damage to that beat. I don't even know if we even got the beat because he lost so much health to that remake. Octave finishes him off. AP Flower Child goes down here. This could be huge for Nightshade here. They're going to get this cap with decent time remaining, which is what you need if you're going to finish off this point.
Yeah, again, looking so good for Nightshade. Even when it looked like a lost fight for them, they still managed to put the pieces back together, really, and just pull out the fight win. They had a few members left, and that's all they needed to work with there. As Almost Ofu does get quite a bit staggered out there. So Ascent, they're going to need to wait for that respawn to come back. And look at how aggressively Suspect is up here as Twid contesting that high ground a little bit. But yeah, look at this position from Nightshade.
Yeah, Nightshade are somewhat split. Their tanks, though, in a very nice position. They can LOS the rest of their team, keep their healers in line of sight, and they can get booped off the map if you're Scythe and Octave. That's a huge boop for Jinro. That's going to send Nightshade back to spawn if they can even make it out alive.
Yeah, now that's the call for Ascent to just push so aggressively here. Now they have control of this payload. As the last few picks from Nightshade are going to go down. And this is looking good for Ascent here. They do have almost 6 ultimates online to work with here. Still 2.5 minutes left for 4-1-3 Nightshade, and you do have a lot of ultimates of your own to be working with here. Twid still needs to get back into that mech though, if Nightshade really want a good chance at this fight. And there's the bomb though from AP Flower Child, gonna force out that immortality field. The Deadeye and the Visor as well. Maybe a little bit of an overcommitment on the side of Ascent, but you still have that shatter as well as the support ults. General almost at that sound barrier, but Nightshade, they still have a lot of ultimates to work with. Twid is almost at that self-destruct, so this could be good for them if they ult early and if they ult aggressively here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. Ascent coming in, have some ults, but clearly not as many as Nightshade do on the offense. That Shatter hits big. It gets pretty much everybody that isn't Suspect, but Suspect Shatter hits almost as big, it seems. As these teams are just committing ultimates to this fight, the freeze comes out, but luckily for Nightshade, they held on to some ultimates because they're getting melted on the point right now. Nerf this, says Twid. It goes over top, and it actually does catch one. Nightshade still have plenty of chances to win this. They're committing the ultimates to this fight, and so far, the card's going to push for them. Can Ascent get this stall? Because it's really close to being the end of the game here. Ascent has to do something if they want to keep this one going.
Yeah, the tanks are still coming back for Ascent, and all you have to work with is this Deadeye. Ink Splash still has that amplification matrix that you can place around this arch area to really give yourself room to work with.
Hontu finds sight.
Still not a lot of ultimates left though.
That's a huge pick. Yeah, the ultimates start to come out. This mirror staying on point for a while now. Twid punches Hontu off the map. I'm not sure that's exactly what happened, but that's a huge kill. Hontu going down now, and it's going to be the rest of Ascent starting to fall. Nightshade looking to finish this game here and now. Shadow has the enemy team in their sights. Can they finish it off? He's going, but he's going to go down. It looks like Nightshade are rolling this point through on a strong but close game, but the stalls aren't done yet. Suspect gets onto, and they're still coming. Twid with the bomb. Twid's had a great series, but that bomb doesn't connect. All it does is make the space for the point that these few stragglers are trying to stall out. Suspect is swinging his heart out right now. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. These guys, these spawn touchers are coming out so fast that Nightshade has to delete them as fast as they come out, and they are doing just that. Nightshade looks like they're going to take this map. And therefore, Nightshade takes the series.
Yep, and the last picks are down for Ascent, and that's the 3-0 win for 4-3 Nightshade. Was a bit of a closer map, quite a bit close, I should say, on Havana. But those first two maps, man, my god, they were just so dominant in favor of 4-3 Nightshade. They just looked so great, especially on the Brawl, and they were able to play it here on Havana as well, to force themselves through and pull out this win here.
Yeah, Nightshade looked great off of an amazing performance from Twid. We saw Twid lighting up the kill feed all day. If we were going to go for an MVP for this game, we would definitely give it to Twid. Twid played all night.
For sure. Man was absolutely unbelievable. And again, he's just been so consistent. And this was really a game where he was able to shine just so well. And that's really gonna boost Nightshade up in the standings a lot. And given the fact that playoffs are coming very, very soon, with just week 9 on the way after this week, this is looking great for them.
Yeah, Mountaineers and Nightshade strong 3-0s this week, week 8. What an intense back and forth we saw. Thank you, Adam, for the sub. That's huge. We really appreciate you coming in here and showing the support, obviously. Another player in the tournament who you guys obviously will get to see if, and only if, you hit that follow button. Make sure you consider giving us that prime sub, just as Adam did in support of Nightshade. And clearly you can see that Nightshade got power from that sub. I mean, they 3-0'd, so clearly that's the only explanation I can imagine. It just shows that if you sub in support of your team, it can certainly boost their chances of winning. We're going to look at the fixtures. We have the fixtures up here. Again, week 8, it was a good week. We had a lot of 3-0s, but that UAH Charger Blue Havoc match was intense, and it was an upset to sort of pace out the 3-0s a little bit. These 3-0s were exciting because we saw some strong dominance and some life from some teams that were getting rolled through a couple of these maps. I'm going to look at the standings here before we go. Again, make sure you guys hit that follow button so you don't miss out on another one of these exciting maps as we go into week 9 next week. Here are our current standings. Havoc still managing to be at the top, but Mountaineers would have to lose their next game, and I don't even know who they play exactly, so they would have to lose their next game to not be at the top, and that's honestly unlikely. Knowing WVU, I would expect them to finish out number 1 here. Havoc would probably take 2. Riot really, really hoping to make it into the playoffs here. They're ahead of Potatoes right now, and I believe they can hold on to that going into next week and hopefully make it into the playoffs here for Riot. That would be huge for them. Charger Blue, the team, while they're middling, they just beat the top team right now. They beat Havoc. So certainly that's a big boost in the standings for them. Hawkshaw, any thoughts about these standings?
Yeah, given the past week, it was definitely a strong boost for a lot of the stronger teams, as well as some of the lower teams, especially Riot, who pulled out that 3-0 win last night. That's massive for them.
Yeah.
Given the playoffs are coming very soon. And it's something I need to keep emphasizing because the playoff bracket, especially this season, is just so important. And the higher you are, the more it'll benefit you, just like a lot of different sort of playoff formats, but this one especially. And you at this point, you just take anything you can get, and that's what every one of these teams is taking into consideration here.
Yeah, these teams have clearly been working hard and are clearly preparing to go into these playoffs. A really great game. Again, Twid, we see in the chat, obviously popped off all day long. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Just checking with production if we have anything else to show you before we leave you here. But week 9, first game will be Tuesday. Make sure you guys follow so you don't miss that. Obviously, you can check out 413esports.com for all the information there. Thank you guys so much for coming out to this match. Again, week 9, Tuesday, next week. 2 days. You guys don't want to miss that. Obviously, some very exciting stuff because we're going into the playoffs, and last week gets very intense before that. Excited to see what happens. Make sure you follow us so you guys can catch this last week and heading into the playoffs, of course. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We had a great stream. Thank you so much. Me and Hawkshaw are going to sign off.
Yep. Thank you, guys.